The rain had been falling since dawn, drumming on rusted zinc roofs, flooding the narrow dirt paths of Abike, a small bustling town where life was as harsh as the midday sun. In the midst of the chaos, a frail-looking woman in a faded wrapper struggled to balance a basin of fried bean cakes on her head. Her name was Abike, and she was known by everyone as Mama Kemi, the woman who smiled even when her world was crumbling. But beneath that smile lay a heavy truth. Her husband had died 3 years ago, leaving her with debts and 2 children to raise alone. Every morning before sunrise, Abike fried bean cakes and puff-puff, selling them to passers-by at the roadside just to put food on the table. That morning, as she stood under a leaking umbrella at her stall, she noticed something unusual. Across the muddy street, an old woman sat huddled against a shop wall, shivering violently in the rain. Her wrapper was soaked through, and her thin frame trembled as though the cold might swallow her whole. Most people passed by without a glance. In a place where poverty was everywhere, one more beggar hardly drew attention. But Abike couldn't look away. Something about the woman, maybe the way her hands clutched her chest as she coughed, stirred something deep in her heart. "Ma, come inside here before you fall sick," Abike called softly, motioning to the tiny shelter of her stall. The old woman lifted her head slowly. Her eyes, cloudy with age, scanned Abike's face as though she were trying to read her soul. She didn't speak, but with effort, she stood up and shuffled toward the stall, her feet splashing in the muddy water. "Sit here, Mama," Abike said, pulling out a rickety stool. She quickly took off her shawl and wrapped it around the old woman's shoulders. "The rain is cold today." The old woman's lips trembled. "Thank you, my daughter. God will bless you." Abike smiled faintly. "Don't thank me. You looked like you needed help." She cut a piece of warm bean cake and placed it in a small nylon bag. "Eat, Mama. You need strength." The woman hesitated, glancing at the food. "I don't have money, my child." "It's fine," Abike interrupted gently. "Please eat. Money is not everything." The old woman's hands shook as she took the food. She ate slowly, almost reverently, as if every bite was a gift. For a few minutes, the rain was the only sound between them. After finishing the food, the woman looked at Abike again. "What is your name?" "Abike." "Abike," the woman repeated the name as though she were memorizing it. "You have a good heart. These days, people walk past me like I am a stone on the road." Abike chuckled sadly. "Sometimes, life makes people hard. But we should never lose our humanity." The day went on. Customers came and went, buying snacks and hot tea. By late afternoon, the rain had stopped, and the sky turned the deep gold of an African sunset. Abike noticed that the old woman hadn't moved much. She seemed weak, almost too tired to walk. "Where do you stay, Mama?" Abike asked, packing up her things. The woman gave a small, embarrassed laugh. "Anywhere I can lay my head." Abike frowned. "You mean you don't have a home?" The woman shook her head. For a moment, Abike was silent. She didn't have much herself. Her room was barely big enough for her and her children, but the thought of leaving this old woman to sleep outside made her stomach twist. "Come with me," Abike said finally. "It's not much, but you can stay the night." The old woman's eyes widened in surprise. No, I can't trouble you." "It's not trouble," Abike said firmly. "I wouldn't sleep well knowing you were out here." Abike's home was a single-room apartment in a crowded compound, its walls stained from years of rain leakage. Inside, her 2 children, Kemi, 12, and Toby, 8, sat doing homework by the dim light of a kerosene lamp. "Children," Abike called, "greet Mama." They stood and greeted her respectfully, and she smiled warmly at them. Abike quickly set down her basin, fetched dry clothes for the old woman, and heated some leftover rice for her. That night, as the rain drummed again on the roof, the old woman lay on a mat Abike had spread out, her breathing finally steady. Over the next 3 days, Abike continued to house and care for the old woman, who introduced herself simply as Mama Grace. She was soft-spoken, but sometimes she would drift into deep thought, staring out the window as if remembering a faraway place. She never said much about her past, only that she had been alone for many years. One evening, while they were eating, Mama Grace spoke up suddenly. "Abike, what do you dream of in life?" Abike smiled faintly. "Dream? These days, I just dream of paying my rent on time and sending my children to school without worrying about the fees." Mama Grace studied her face. "Is that all?" "Well," Abike hesitated. "I used to dream bigger when I was younger. I wanted to own a bakery, employ people, and teach other women to make pastries. But life taught me to be realistic." Mama Grace nodded slowly, her eyes holding something unspoken. On the fourth morning, Mama Grace insisted on leaving. "You have done more than enough for me, my daughter. I can't keep being a burden." "You are not a burden," Abike said, but she could tell Mama Grace had already made up her mind. Before she left, Mama Grace held Abike's hands and looked deep into her eyes. "Abike, if one day your kindness comes back to you, do not be surprised. God never forgets those who give without expecting." With that, she walked away slowly, disappearing into the crowded street. Weeks passed. Life returned to its routine rhythm, early mornings frying snacks, long days of selling, and evenings helping the children with homework. Abike didn't see Mama Grace again, but sometimes, when the rain fell, she wondered where the old woman might be sleeping. Then one hot Thursday afternoon, everything changed. Abike was at her stall when a shiny black SUV stopped right in front of her. The tinted glass rolled down to reveal a sharply dressed young man in an expensive suit. "Are you Abike?" he asked. She hesitated. "Yes." The man smiled slightly. "My name is Daniel. My mother has been looking for you." "Your mother?" "Yes," he said, stepping out of the SUV. "Mama Grace." Abike's eyes widened. "Mama Grace." Daniel nodded. "She's been in the hospital for the past week. She told me about you, about how you helped her without asking for anything. She asked me to bring you to her." When Abike arrived at the private hospital, her breath caught. The place was nothing like the public hospitals she was used to. It smelled of fresh flowers and antiseptic, and the walls gleamed like polished marble. In a quiet ward, Mama Grace lay propped up on a bed, wearing a silk wrapper. She looked far healthier than when Abike had last seen her. "Abike, my daughter," Mama Grace said, her face lighting up. "Mama!" "I didn't know," Abike began, but Mama Grace raised a hand. "There's something you should know," she said softly. "I am the mother of Daniel, the CEO of Grace Holdings." Abike blinked, stunned. Grace Holdings was a household name, one of the biggest companies in the country. She had seen their billboards everywhere, never imagining she had once shared her home with the mother of its billionaire CEO. Mama Grace smiled faintly. "That day in the rain, I wanted to see how the world treats those it believes have nothing. Many passed me by, but you, Abike, you gave without knowing who I was. You gave from the heart." Abike felt tears prick her eyes. Daniel stepped forward. "My mother would like to repay your kindness. She has asked me to help you start that bakery you once dreamed of." Abike's heart pounded. She hadn't told Mama Grace much, and yet, she remembered. But as she stood there, speechless, she began to realize this meeting might change her life in ways she never imagined. Abike sat on the hospital chair, her hands trembling slightly. She felt like she had been dropped into someone else's life. Just yesterday she was worrying about paying Kemi's school fees, and now a billionaire's son was offering to start her dream business. Mama Grace reached over and took her hand. "My daughter, this is not charity. This is gratitude. You opened your home to me when I was shivering in the rain. You treated me like a human being when others walked away. Now, allow me to open doors for you." Abike nodded slowly, still trying to process it all. Daniel smiled warmly. "We'll set up the bakery in a good location. We'll cover rent, equipment, everything. You just bring your skill and passion." It sounded like a miracle. But miracles in real life often attract more than just joy, they attract eyes. 2 weeks later, a shop in the busy part of Abike was transformed into Abike's Delight Bakery. The air smelled of fresh bread and pastries, the glass display cases gleamed, and the bright sign above the door carried her name proudly. At first, the community celebrated her success. Neighbors came to congratulate her, customers flocked to buy her baked goods, and the bakery's opening day was so packed that Abike barely had time to breathe. But soon, whispers began. "Did you hear? She must have found herself a rich man. Ah. Or maybe she joined some secret society. How else can a woman like her open such a big shop in 2 weeks?" Her friend Jimok, who used to help her fry bean cakes, asked bluntly one evening, "Abike, where did this money come from?" "You can tell me. We are friends." Abike sighed. "It's from someone I helped. She decided to repay me." Jimok raised an eyebrow. "Just like that? Nobody gives this kind of money without expecting something." The tension at home grew too. Kemi overheard her schoolmates gossiping that her mother was a kept woman. Toby came home once, upset because someone had told him, "Your mum's bakery is from dirty money." Abike tried to ignore the rumors, but they cut deep. Even her landlord, who had ignored her calls when she struggled to pay rent, suddenly began visiting the bakery, smiling too much and dropping hints about business partnerships. One evening, Daniel visited the bakery to check on things. As they stood outside, Abike said quietly, This help you've given me, it has brought good things, but also, problems." Daniel's face hardened. "People will always talk when they don't understand. But you know your truth, Abike. And my mother knows your heart. That's what matters." Still, Abike couldn't shake the unease. There was one question that lingered in her mind, one she hadn't dared to ask Mama Grace yet. Why had the mother of a billionaire been sitting alone, drenched in the rain, that day? The answer would come sooner than she expected. One quiet morning, before the bakery opened, a sleek black car pulled up. Mama Grace stepped out, looking regal in a blue lace wrapper. But her expression was different, heavier, as if carrying a burden. Inside the bakery, after greeting the staff, she sat across from Abike. "There's something I need to tell you," Mama Grace said softly. "Something I haven't told even my son." Abike leaned forward, heart pounding. Mama Grace's eyes glistened. "That day you found me. I wasn't just testing the kindness of strangers. I was running away." Abike's breath caught. "Running away? From what?" Mama Grace looked down at her hands, as if the story weighed too much to meet anyone's eyes. "From my own home, from the life everyone thinks is perfect." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "You see, Daniel may be wealthy now, but that wealth came with walls. His business takes all his time. We hardly see each other. And the people around him, they see me only as the billionaire's mother. They smile, but their eyes are calculating. I am surrounded by luxury, yet I am alone." Abike swallowed. She knew loneliness, but not the kind that could hide inside mansions. That morning, Mama Grace continued, "I left without telling anyone. I wanted to see the world without the shield of money, to know if people could still see me as a person, not a name." She looked directly at Abike, her voice trembling. "You saw me. You didn't ask who I was, what I owned, or what I could give you. You gave because you cared. That is why I trust you." Abike felt a lump in her throat. "Mama! I was only doing what anyone should do." Mama Grace shook her head gently. "Not anyone. Many passed me by that day." Weeks rolled by, and the bakery flourished. Abike hired 2 women from her community who were struggling financially, remembering how hard it had been for her. She paid them fair wages, trained them, and even allowed them to bake and sell their own recipes alongside hers. But the whispers never completely stopped. Some people still tried to attach scandal to her name. One afternoon, as she was arranging bread on the shelves, she overheard two customers speaking in low tones. See her living big now. Let's see how long before she falls. Her chest tightened, but she kept working. That night, she sat with her children. No matter what people say, always remember this: wealth means nothing if it's not used to help others. And kindness is never wasted, even when the world doubts you. Months later, Mama Grace returned with Daniel. They bought a large order from the bakery, not for themselves, but to donate to a nearby orphanage. Abike went with them to deliver the food, and as she watched the children's faces light up, something clicked inside her. The real blessing was not the bakery, but the chance to give more than she ever could before. Before they left, Mama Grace leaned close and whispered, "Never let the noise of the world drown your heart's voice. That voice is why you're here." Abike never sought fame or riches, yet her life had changed in ways she never imagined. She had learned that kindness, given in silence and sincerity, had a way of finding its way back, sometimes in the most unexpected form. And Mama Grace? She visited often, not as the mother of a CEO, but as a friend. In Abike's small shop filled with the smell of fresh bread, she found something her wealth had never given her, a place where she could be just a woman, and be seen. The whispers in the community never completely died, but Abike no longer feared them. She knew her truth, and so did those who mattered. In the end, her life stood as proof of one simple, powerful truth: it is not the size of the gift that changes lives, but the size of the heart that gives it.